We are an employee benefit and insurance broker in business for the past 20 years. The new healthcare law, also known as Obamacare, has finally arrived. The law is complex and the choices are confusing. You have questions, we have the answers. It is our passion to find cost-effective solutions for every client. The solutions will be different for every person or business. Let our knowledge, experience, and passion go to work for you. Contact us today and let us assist you through this process. Our phone number is 423-473-0202, or you can find us on the web at edjacobs.com.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it on north of here in a shopping mall.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Debbie Moore, good morning and congratulations. Deb went to the doctor Thursday and was told that she was cancer-free, so thanks for that. And
we're glad for that, but we still got a few more treatments to go. But we're on the right track and headed in the right direction.
So tell us what's going on today.
Oh, we saw some joggers downtown. Weren't you going to run in that race, Ron?
Yeah, I forgot about it. I forgot to mark my calendar.
Right. As we ate our biscuits and gravy.
If you see me running, you know the ice cream truck didn't stop.
That's right. Well, my reference book this morning to help me out is the Foxfire book, and that should tell everybody we're talking about all things country this morning. We've got Gene Flowers and Kenneth Roark in here to help us this morning, and these fellas, they grow real gardens. I see pictures of Kenneth's, and then I know all the things that Gene cans, and I'm going, oh my goodness, everything. So I went and took the Master Gardener class, and I should have just came down to your house. You know what that does? That means when I go outside to dig a hole, he'll tell me I'm digging it the wrong way. So that's about what that accomplishes. You never dig the hole wrong. You can dig all you want. And we had cleaned out our flower beds, guys, and got them all ready for my flowers. And Ron decided he was going to plant wildflowers. So we'd cleaned all the weeds out, and he just planted weeds with flowers now. Yeah. So they've all come up about 3 inches this morning. How is this now? You know, in case we're listening to this again after today on YouTube, it's been fairly warm for several days. And this morning it's about 30 degrees. So how's this going to affect things like my flowers coming up and other? If somebody got overly anxious, it might affect their garden. What you got planted right now, Kenneth? What do you have planted right now?
I've not gotten in any hurry at all yet for my vegetables. I have onions out, and if I didn't have such a neat crop of kale and some greens right now, I'd done had my garden maybe plowed up and been prepared to put my broccoli. It's been a good year for kale. Yeah, broccoli, cauliflower, and a few cool weather vegetables. But I wouldn't dare to try to plant any kind of bean or no.
My dad used to say there was a certain kind of maple tree that once it budded, which is mid-April or after, I'm sure, then he would plant his more major, start planting some other crops besides the cold weather crops. So do you have onions out right now?
Yeah. I got onions probably an inch tall right now in my bed, onion bed. I always do the sets because I like to pull up the green onions, take them to the house and have pinto beans and cornbread with it.
And onion.
Gene was talking about that earlier. Gene, what you got planted?
I've got onions, cabbage, and I lost my broccoli too early.
Yeah.
And my leeks, of course, they come back every year, and garlic.
Yeah, I planted garlic last fall, and I had I didn't plant probably 20 plants, and they were all up, and now they're only one of them up. They're going to come back, aren't they? That cold snap got it a couple of weeks ago.
No, they probably won't come back.
You should have seen both of them shaking their heads no at him.
Yeah, what you see green right now is probably all you got.
Okay, well, I've got one garlic. Yeah,
that's kind of like we grew Brussels sprouts, and it grew this beautiful plant. We had one Brussels sprout on it.
How do you get Brussels sprouts to put? I had beautiful plants, but there was one little marble on one of them, and I never got any Brussels sprouts. What?
I think he was impatient.
What did I do wrong?
Do you grow Brussels sprouts?
I have, but they are so insect prone in my area, and I hate to soak things down to be insect free. About the strongest thing I ever use is like liquid 7 or that nature, and
but they're you could plant them same time you do your broccoli, can't you?
Yeah.
And then you can plant them as a fall.
Yeah.
Sometimes you plant them as a fall, you don't have as much insect problem. But I never got great plants.
Yeah.
Never got any sprouts.
Yeah.
Well, Gene, I know that yesterday on Facebook, someone was asking you about a natural herbicide, I guess.
Weed killer.
Weed killer.
Yeah.
Dawn dish detergent.
Yeah, a quarter cup to a gallon of apple cider vinegar, and a cup of Epsom salts. And what I usually do, I pour half the vinegar into my sprayer, and then I put the Epsom salt in it and shake it so it'll blend. And then I add the Dawn to the sprayer.
How much Dawn do you put in there?
A quarter cup.
A quarter cup, okay. And you just spray it on stuff you don't want to grow.
Right. On a hot, sunny day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
Now,
the Dawn makes it stick to the plant.
The Dawn removes the oil, the protective oils from the plants.
Oh.
So the salt and the acid in the vinegar can kill it.
So now this kills all plants.
Yes.
It's sort of like a Roundup, so you don't want to put it around your tomato plant.
But it won't kill my honeybees.
Okay.
Okay. How many honeybees do you have? How many hives do you have?
I lost a hive, so I
now,
just
how do you lose a hive?
The robbery.
Not
from me, from other bees.
Okay.
Or hornets.
I could see some thief walking off with your beehive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that happens too, but hornets is their number one enemy, and 30 hornets come in and wipe out a hive of 40,000 bees in just a little while. And they don't come to get the honey; they come to get the larvae to take to their brood to feed.
Feed to them. There's some kind of new hornet they found around the area here. Is it the bald-headed hornet or something?
Ballface.
Ballface. Okay. Yeah, and they're supposed to be an aggressive hornet.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now they don't do the big thing. They do little smaller pouches and have a smaller colony, not like the big huge ones, right?
Yeah. Are they like if they get in at eaves of a house?
Mm-hmm.
Attics. They like attics.
Yeah, I think I've saw them in like up on the side of the ridge or something in a hollow tree, have a crack or something in it, and they'll be in those too. They like those areas to where I've seen them.
Okay, Gene, one more time. Folks on the internet want you to give that recipe for that weed killer one more time.
Okay. 1 gallon of apple cider vinegar, 1 cup of Epsom salts, and a quarter cup of Dawn dishwashing liquid. Mixed well.
No, does it have to be a blue type, green type?
The blue type.
The blue type.
Yeah, it's the same type I use to get the oil off the birds and wildlife and oil spills. It's a good oil remover.
And then yesterday I saw where you were having a conversation with somebody on Facebook too. They were concerned that their Epsom salts were too old.
Yeah.
And what did you tell them?
I told them if it was caked, it had drawn moisture and it was probably broken down. But if it's still loose and flaky, it's still good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You can get that in a powder form too, can't you? Can't you get an Epsom salt in a pure granular powder?
Well, all I've ever seen is like the flake.
Okay.
Yeah, a little flake or a little pellet,
Yeah.
so you can buy sodium sulfite, which is what Epsom salt is, and it comes in a different bag, and it's sort of pellet form. That's basically what I use all the time.
So right now you could plant your onions, you can plant your potatoes, you can plant carrots, radishes,
yes,
and greens.
Yeah,
most greens and you said like cabbage, onions, garlic. With garlic, can you plant garlic now and you still get some, or would you have to? Usually it's a fall type thing you plant and you get it in the spring.
Once it dies down, then you take that bulb and put it where you want it to grow, and that's the best I've found. And I guess Gene, I don't know what Gene's idea, but
I'm trying to establish elephant garlic.
Yeah, okay.
And when the stem, before it blooms, I'll cut it. Cut the stem. When it dies down, I dig it, separate the cloves, and then replant it.
Yeah.
So you can do that right now? I mean,
I'll wait. As long as it's green, it's the bulb's still growing.
Yeah.
The cloves and everything. So I'll wait till they start dying down.
You know, garlic is easy. You can go to the store and buy garlic bulbs at the grocery store and just break the clothes up and put them in the ground.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
That's right.
Or you can buy the elephant ear, and there's all kind of other types. So, forgot what I was going to ask you now. Probably wasn't important. Planting by the signs. I know my grandpa, I don't know if he read the almanac as much as he said that the worms are woollier and they're going to be something, and the ants are growing up and the beetles have done this, and I didn't listen to a darn word he said. Now I have to. I wish I'd listened to everything he had to say. Do you plant by the signs?
I do most of my planting by the signs. There's so much to remember in the zodiac world and stuff. I use the almanac, or I'll go on the internet and it'll specifically tell you the day you can plant a bean, or it has all the zodiac signs, where the feet and the arms and the legs, and I think you get probably a little better yield, and I'm not so much on it repelling insects and stuff of that nature. You got to do that natural or some other way to keep them from eating your garden up. I've got a bunch of martin gourds out the end of my garden, and I use that for mosquitoes and whatever insects they'll get. I'm not saying that's going to get all the insects out of my garden, but I think it helps control insects overall. So I was brought up, my dad always planted by the signs, and sometimes you may not want to wait until that sign
I'm
is...
very guilty of that.
And, you're still going to get something, but you may not be hardly as productive, or that plant might not look as healthy. And
that's what's wrong with your plants, Ron.
The stage of the moon is part of that too, right?
Yeah.
It says each sign appears 2 or 3 days each month. So you have to be patient enough to wait for it to come back around. But sometimes around here where we have such wacko weather, on that pretty sunshiny day, you just want to go ahead and get something in the ground, but you really need to wait.
We want to get them tomatoes out so we can get one of them garden tomatoes. Maters. Gene, do you plant by the signs?
I don't. I work swing shift 45 years.
He plants by the swing shift.
My dad and my grandfather, they cut hogs in the signs. They killed hogs in the signs. They planted in the signs. My sign was, if I was off, the ground was dry, I planted.
How big of a garden do you plant now, Gene?
It's about 150 foot long, about 60 foot wide, the big garden. Then I've got 2 smaller ones that I have my leeks and garlics in.
How do you fertilize those?
Compost.
Composting. Composting. What about you, Kenneth? How big's your garden?
Well, my garden that I grow all my vegetables is about the same size as his, and then I have another garden down on the branch where it's a little lower ground that I grow my arch potatoes and stuff, and that's why I haven't got those out yet. It's been too wet down there, and it's about to be too late planting potatoes.
Why do you plant down next to the...
Well, it stays, it's lower
moist.
land, and it stays more moist.
Okay.
And potatoes require a lot of moisture.
Like in Ireland, yeah.
Now, I know composting is... plants do not eat dirt. That's what, people, who say, well, you put it in the dirt and that's what they eat. No, they eat what's in the dirt or the soil. Let's call it soil.
Soil, yeah.
What they call, they're going to eat the minerals that the soil happens to, because you can do hydroponics where you just provide the water with a chemical in there and that grows. If you've ever been to Disneyland or to the Epcot Center, they got the land where they grow everything just in a water base. They put a fertilizer in
That's
there.
right.
I know just raking up all your leaves and pouring them on your garden spot helps it a lot, doesn't it?
It helps it a lot, but then you got to come around and put some lime on
Right.
it because it makes it too acidic.
Right.
And then you're going to have a stunted plant if it's too acidic. You got to have a pH up 5.5, I think, Gene, and all the way up to maybe 7. But I try to run my pH 6.5, 7. It's all around pH. Your tomatoes are better, sweeter. See, tomatoes like acidic soil, but I run mine on the high side a little bit, and I think they taste better and they grow off better.
Now, I know starting next Saturday before our regular show, we have the Master Gardeners going to come in for 45 minutes every Saturday, and we're going to talk about all kind of subjects.
Yeah.
And we have some really good people, and gosh, you guys ought to be in the Master Gardeners. You could compete with these guys every day. Gene, what about you? I mean, how do you compost yours?
I use pallets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tie 4 of them together and start adding my stuff to it. And then I need 3 more pallets to make the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I have 5 pallets, 4 squares full of compost.
Now, for composting people, grass clippings, food scraps. Go ahead.
Not even food scraps. If you peel a potato,
Yeah.
yes. But cooked with butter in it?
No. Yeah. It's the stuff stuff that you cut off.
Yeah.
And if we cut it up or fruit gets, strawberries get soft, I'll throw them out there.
Yeah.
And then you can use animal waste. You can use all kind of things in there, but there's a mixture in there that, you need more browns than you do greens, or is it more greens than browns? We'll get that backwards. Or do you just throw it all in there and see what happens?
No, like my leaves, I usually put my leaves in a big common, what I call a common, and I start adding everything to it. And then this summer, when I mow the yard, or this spring, I'll put in a layer of fresh green grass, and then a layer of the leaves that's already composted. And if you put leaves on too heavy, it actually becomes an inhibitor to your growth. So I'll use the leaves from last fall into the compost bins for next year.
Okay. So it's a long-term stuff. And you have to compost quite a bit to get enough to actually do it. I know I've seen your garden. I think you just cover it sometime with, of course, you got your greens you plant. You'll turn those under.
Yeah, that's a winter cover crop itself. Those greens have a lot of nitrogen that's pulled out of the atmosphere. I use that a lot. And then also all this, I may take a straw, not grass, hay or nothing, straw and that type of stuff, horse manure, and not too much of that, because you'll make your plants retarded with too much of that. So I'll just plow all that up, when I get finished, and it's sort of like compost that he usually put on, but it's a different way of composting and keeping your ground built up.
It's just like if you go into the forest and dig down under, those forests where leaves have fell for years and the soil's almost black in there.
Yeah.
Very, very rich. And unfortunately for us in this area, our soil's only 4 or 6 inches deep. So if you don't supplement it some way, you'll never, you're not going to get the great growth here.
That's right. You got to keep something in it, or all plant life will eventually take all that out. And if you don't add stuff like that to it, then you're going to see your plants gradually just get weaker and weaker, and then first thing you know, you're not going to have anything growing in your garden to produce.
Now you should rotate your crops, because different plants take different things out of the soil, right?
And they put other things back in.
Right.
Yeah, and they put other things back in. Also, like the planting potatoes, you don't want to put them in the same spot more than 2 years in a row. because first thing you know, you'll start getting potatoes, digging them, and they'll have old rough spots all over them, scarred spots, and it's like I don't know what you call it, Gene. It's a
There's
disease.
a scaly blight.
Yeah.
Now, I guess
it's a disease anyway of some sort. Or
I'd like to download everything in these two guys' brain into my brain.
down along your creek down there. Now your soil's probably a little deeper there as floods come along. It sort of deposited soil. You see it a little deeper.
It's not hardly any more richer. I have it's a row of pine trees. Potatoes like acid ground, and pine needles are real acidic.
Right.
So I do add a little lime in my potato planting area, but I do use 10 fertilizer on my potatoes, and it works real well. And I have some pretty large potatoes, and that ground is more sandy down along that branch where the water and stuff is. And
where do you get your cuttings for your potatoes? Do you?
I usually buy them over at Beatty's, but you can buy them, different stores. But I usually just plant the Kennebec potato. It's a lot less rot resistant when you dig them, and that's one thing I do pay attention when I do my potatoes. I try to plant them after the full moon, and I do harvest them before the full moon, about a week before the full moon, and they will seal over. If you cut any of them while you're digging or anything, they'll seal over. And I bet I didn't have 6 potatoes rot this year. Last year, I was forced to dig them later on and after the full moon, and I probably lost 3 bushel from rot. And that's one thing that I will vouch, digging and harvesting the right time, you will save potatoes. They'll seal over. The starch in them will just actually seal over, and it stays that way.
Somebody online wants to know if you can use just leaves and grass for compost.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
They both shook their head yes.
Yeah.
I save all my newspapers. I don't sit around very good.
No.
And I'll sit
You
there.
don't have idle here.
I can show you how to do that, Gene.
Yeah.
I'll sit there, and while Peggy's watching TV, I very seldom watch TV, and I'll take a pair of scissors, heavy gauge scissors, and cut that newspaper up into tote bins, and then I'll store them and take it out there and mix it with the compost.
Now, what does that do?
It's a wood fiber.
Okay.
And
good recycling.
I don't use the colored paper.
No, just the black and white.
Yeah, and the ink on the newspaper now is soy based. So it's organic too, and it just gives the worms love it. Coffee grounds, eggshells, and my grandfather got me started when I was a kid. He was mostly Cherokee. And he said, if you take from the mother, you have to give back to the mother. Basically, Mother Earth. And he had what he called a heap that he would put, just pile up. But he had free-range chickens. They'd go out there and turn it for him. Break it out, hunting worms. Then the kids go back out there and pile it back up. He'd wait to, get a good rain on it, and then you'd pile it back up. And it kept going through a heat and breaking down.
It's got to decompose.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely. If it don't decompose and you put it on your garden, you'll ruin it.
Yeah.
I had this is a little story that really taught me a lesson. I have this dairy farmer that lives above me, and he said, I got a lot of good cow manure if you want me to bring it down and spread it on your garden. I said, yeah, buddy. I said, I'd like that. And out of both of us is, it just wasn't good knowledge of either one of us, but it happened to be new pine shavings that he had put in his barn, and there was a lot of
Gene's shaking his head. Oh no!
there was a lot of manure in it, but those pine shavings ruined my garden for 2 years because they have to completely rot. Now they put pine shavings in a chicken house, but see when that in those chicken houses, that goes through such a high heat. It decomposes those shavings, and they're good like the next year. But don't ever put no fresh sawdust or fresh shavings on your garden.
Well, the chicken litter, when I was a younger boy, went and shoveled a chicken house out and then took it to my house and spread it.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of chicken manure, but they do that a lot. They got a lot neater way of doing that. These big fancy ones.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
They raise the beds up and got a little tractor run in there and just pull it all out. And Now, if you go up to the Mennonite farm or the Amish farm in Delano, of course they have all horses and they have big piles of compost, everything, and their gardens turn out pretty good up there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And they use all natural.
We were fascinated one day. We were there, and on one side of the road there was this, I don't know, probably a $200,000 piece of equipment doing something on this side of the road, and there was a fellow with a horse on the other side of the road doing the exact same thing, and he didn't seem the least bit discouraged by it.
Yeah.
He was just, and then we saw up there one day, they had a horse on a treadmill that was operating a pump that was pumping water up out of the creek. We thought that was pretty unique.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that. But, so how do you test your soil? I mean, I went through the Master Gardener class, and the agricultural agents down here say, come up there and get a little box from us, and you take some samples, send it off. Over at $7, they'll come back and tell you if you want to grow tomatoes, your soil needs more of this, or they may be 10, 20, 10, or something of that nature. So how do you test your soil, Gene?
I've got a little recipe at the house. I can't remember what I'll use, but if you can tell if it has too much acid or it's too neutral, and you use vinegar, and first thing that popped in my mind is the only thing that's popping in my mind. And
but it changes colors, or how do you?
The foam. It foams.
Foams.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to know that. Post that on Facebook.
I'll try to find it.
Yeah. What about you? How do you do yours?
Yeah, fortunately, I found a little pH meter years ago up at Kmart in their garden center. Now, I haven't saw these since. It's got two little rods, two little prongs, and you stick it down the ground, and it's got a little button on it that you flip that over. It'll tell you the moisture in your ground, it'll tell you the temperature, and it tells you the pH. So I use that, but over a period of years, Gene, I know he can too. You can pretty well sense what you need to do to.
I remember seeing my dad go to the garden and just run dirt through his fingers.
Yeah, and smell of it.
Smell of it, and throw it down and smell of it. Do the whole thing, and he just knew what to put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, over a period of years, you learn that.
Also, if it sticks together, it means something. Too wet, and then.
Okay, Gene, who taught you how to garden?
My grandfather and my father.
Now, where did they live?
My grandfather lived over on Chippewa, right in the middle of Oldfield.
Yes.
And that's where, my dad was, after he got on up in years, was raised up over there. But my grandpa used to have a farm down on Bates Pike. My great-grandfather had a general store down there.
And on Bates Pike?
Yeah.
And what was the name of it?
Flowers General Store.
And what neighborhood was it in?
It was the corner of New Hope Road and Bates Pike.
That little store building's still there, isn't it?
Well, that wasn't his. His set further back.
Okay.
Because you had to have room to get the horses and wagons in.
Bull Elliott lived right behind back there, didn't he? Yeah.
All right, you're going to have to take me and show me.
I know exactly where that is.
But he owned that corner, and my grandpa lived there, grew up there. Mm-hmm. And but before we leave talking about the compost,
go ahead.
A thing that I make is called worm tea. You familiar with it?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
You take.
I have heard it, but I'm not.
Yeah, or some people call it compost tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you take about 2 gallons of the compost, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, pour rainwater in it, and go out there about once a day and stir it. And then you pour that over your tomato plants, and it's better than any Miracle-Gro you can buy.
Yeah.
And it's all organic. And I always have buckets sitting around. But when my children were small, they called my compost bins Daddy's artificial cowbellies. Because it had the same smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what about I know you grew up right down there on the farm, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Well, down in McDonald.
McDonald.
Yeah, I never went nowhere. live right where I was raised.
So who do you think you got most of your gardening
I
skills
got all
from?
mine from my dad because I was the youngest one of us 5 kids, so my granddad was not able at my early age of gardening to do anything like that. But I got all mine from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
See, I should have got all mine from my mom's dad, my grandfather.
Yeah.
And he tried to explain it all to me, and I was one of the younger ones of the grandkids. So he was still, when he was 92, he built huge gardens and, worked with he finally got him one of those rototillers.
Yeah.
And he'd used it. He dug water lines with his rototiller,
Yeah.
when he was 90. So, big old strong guy. And what always amazed me is all those rows were perfectly in a straight line. I mean, perfectly straight. And I didn't really see the need for them to be straight. But my uncle Eddie Epperson, his gardens all look like that, perfectly straight.
Yeah.
And,
Mine are all curved. Because my garden's on a saddle. So over the years, I've learned where to put the straw bales.
Yeah.
And I put a curve in them to the water hits the curve and it slows down, seeps in, and what goes around picks up speed and then hits another curve.
Yeah.
Well,
He has a racetrack.
Yeah.
But now, so if your crop's not in a straight line, they still grow, won't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they still grow.
Now, what's the secret about growing corn? I've never grown. I've got green acre corn every time I tried to grow green acre. With the TV series, I had that, like a half a ear every once in a while.
Yeah. Occasionally we'll get a pretty good stalk, but we don't get much corn
Get a
on it.
stalk.
How close do you put it?
He just puts it in.
I read the package or whatever, got it, and try to separate it.
We haven't tried in a long time.
I don't grow a lot of corn. I was like going to grow like 10, 15 plants.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You got
Now, why is that a problem?
It don't pollinate.
Okay, there you go. I told him that they grow really good corn at the farmer's market, and I can just go there and buy it.
If you're gonna grow corn, you can grow small amounts, but it needs to be in a package,
Like a square, yeah.
Yeah, square where it'll pollinate. Because when that pollen falls off onto those silks onto that ear of corn, that's when you get your kernels. So, so you got to keep it all compact.
Now, is there a reason to grow the beans on the corn stalks, or is that just for convenience? Okay.
Convenience. Back in my early days, we growed hickory cane corn, which is about the tallest corn you can grow. And after that corn got up, high as my dad's head or something, we had to go and plant our pole beans in that corn. We'd dig a hole with a hoe, and we'd put 3 bean seed in there, and then they'd come up and they'd go up that corn, and we didn't have to stick them. But then later in life, we didn't grow corn, so we stuck everything with cane poles off the creek, and so that it's a lot less work if you plant your beans and establish corn.
There you go.
What's the craziest thing you ever grown?
The what?
What's the craziest thing you ever tried to grow?
I don't know.
Just all the standard stuff.
Yeah, just standard.
See, I always want to grow something I never grown before, and, and probably don't make it grow either.
The only thing I try to grow different, it hasn't been long since we've had all these different colored sweet peppers and stuff like that, And then you got purple tomatoes. This year I'm gonna try to grow me some purple sweet potatoes. I done bought my potatoes, and I'm gonna bed them here real soon, and see if I can get me some slips to grow off of those, and I'm gonna try some.
Gene,
they must be good. I understand.
Gene, I know you're real interested in heritage seeds.
Heirloom, yeah.
Heirloom, that's the word. I knew when I said it, there was the wrong word. How did you get started in that?
Before you answer that, let me tell you, you're listening to Whoop FM 99.9. Got Kenneth Roark and Gene Flowers, and we're talking about planting with the signs and making your garden grow. And
anything else
you want to talk about, Bates Pike or McDonald. We talk about all of it today. We're going to open up the phone lines too. You can call us here at 614-5553. Go ahead, Gene.
When I was a kid,
we didn't get a call here.
Hang on just a second.
So you didn't get them started here. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, that's T-Bandy.
Hey,
T-Bandy.
What's up, buddy?
I'm sitting down here at the co-op waiting on the fish truck.
Okay. So you think the fish truck will be there about 11 o'clock or so?
Yeah, should be.
Okay. And if anybody's ordered fish, of course, they need to come and remember to get their fish. But you think that
Yeah, I called them, yeah.
you got extra fish today, too?
Yeah.
What kind would you have?
Do what?
What kind of fish will you have? Do you know?
I have catfish, brim, bluegill.
Okay.
Got that grass carp?
Do what?
Got that grass carp?
Yeah, we got the grass carp, yeah.
Okay. So you're at the Southeastern Co-op on Blue Springs Road.
Yeah.
And about 11 o'clock the truck will come. You don't need to bring your own container. He's got one for you.
Yeah.
Go down and buy you some fish.
Farmers Co-op.
Yeah. I call it Bradley Farmers Co-op, too, but technically.
No. They've got everything you need to plant a garden right now.
That's right. I bet I bet they can answer a few questions too. And if you don't have a question they can't answer, go out in the parking lot and ask T.
You got people that'll dig?
Yeah.
You said you had everything.
Cabbage and onions and all kind of seed inside the store.
That's right. When do we need to plant our cotton, T?
Yeah, 1st of May.
1st of May. Okay, we're going to do that. See if we can grow some cotton this year.
I'm going to grow my own cotton and make my own T-shirt. I'm going to have to lose some weight probably.
I'm not going to plant mine this year, so I got plenty of land over if you need some new seed.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, T. Everybody go see T down at the Bradley Farmers Co-op. Bye-bye.
We got some seed right out of Mississippi. Right out of cotton fields.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got us some
off the plantation down there from one of the big old plantations.
Yeah.
I'm sure the National Park Service didn't mind that I brought home a few
Go ahead,
pieces of cotton. No, Ron's like, don't say that.
They
Talk
don't
about
mind, they don't catch it.
heirloom seeds.
Well, I was saying when I was small, if you didn't just run to the seed store and buy seeds, and you let some go to seed, you either like feeding the chickens or the cattle or whatever. And then you set back so much to grow the next year. And you always put a little root snuff in the jar with it to keep the bugs out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was your garden for next year. And if you was going to eat, you had to have that. So I guess that's where I'm so interested in saving seed. It's like the okra that's in my family. It gets 8 to 10, 12 foot tall.
Yeah.
And it has the bottom leaves are huge, And it my neighbor tells me I need a ladder to gather my okra.
Yeah, I love it.
But the pods get real long, and every year, like I put out 5 rows, 3 of them at the 1st September, we quit cutting off them. We cut off the other 2, and that 3 rows goes to seed.
Now you just cut the pods and let them dry?
I let them dry on the stalk.
Yeah.
On the stalk.
I have a better chance of saving the seed.
And then when you get them in, how do you store them after you get them out? Or do you just leave the stalk there all winter?
I'll pull them out. Once they start cracking, I'll pull them out and shell them. And then I'll put them in a box lid and let them go down there every other day or so and roll them around. And in case I've got some green ones in there, I don't want them laying in the same spot and start rotting. And I guess that's the reason I started heirloom seeds. But I've got some, like my German pinks, seeds that I've had for years. And I got them from the guy that his family brought them over from Germany and settled in South Carolina.
Yeah, I grew some of those. You brought me a plant one year.
And they're beautiful, large tomatoes. And Rutgers, that's my favorite tomato, high acid. And several years ago, guy I worked with, his family up in Tellico, had lived on this farm 5 or 6 generations. And they'd always had these tomatoes they called hog lot tomatoes.
Hog lot tomatoes.
Hog lot tomatoes. And they're high in acid.
Yeah, so those were, you fed your hogs, and that's what came up in the hog lot.
Yeah.
Let's get this call right here. We'll come back to that. Guy has some questions. Good morning. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
Okay, I hate to interrupt your hog talk, but Bad Birchwood tonight is probably the best country band around, Southern Tradition.
Oh, very good band, yeah.
And you're at the
Birchwood Opry.
Thank you. My brain just went dead.
School.
Yeah, across from the old school. Yeah. What time does it start?
7 o'clock.
Ends by 9?
Yeah, around there. Well, now this band plays a little longer, maybe 9:30.
Okay.
Wow, yeah. Late night band.
And it'll be crowded if you come early.
About $5 adult?
Pardon? Yes, $5 for adults.
Good barbecue.
12 free.
And barbecue in the concession stand.
Oh, yes.
See, I know all the good places about that. Now, Gene over here with us, he has his own hot slaw. Can he bring his own hot slaw with him?
He can if he like.
He does.
We use Mr. Moon's hot slaw. You know, I brought you a quart one time.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we use.
Yeah, well,
Very
that's
good.
good stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good.
We're always glad for you to call and announce.
Thanks for calling.
Even if we're
everything.
talking about the hog lots.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, they do.
Speaking of
That's a
music.
good family place to take your kids out there. If you like bluegrass music, just a great place.
Speaking of music, Mountain Cove called us the other night. Mountain Cove is a bunch of young guys that play really good bluegrass music. They came in about 3 years ago when they were just getting started. They've been on TV in Nashville on a series. Lots of great things are happening to them. And they are going to be on TV May the 7th. And before they appear there, they asked...
GAC, is it?
They asked if they could come and be with us again, kind of a reminiscence of when they first got started. So you guys have looked forward to that coming the first weekend in May.
These are 5 or 6. They change a little as we go, but 5 or 6 guys that
young guys
that can pick and can sing. And I'm sitting here going,
I
these
believe
are talented kids. One of them was like the national banjo champion for boys and things like that.
I believe that they were all still in high school the last time they were here.
One had just graduated.
Yeah.
I think we just started at UTC.
But they really, when we first booked them, we thought, well, we'd heard them play when they first got started and invited them, and they finally came, and we were really impressed how much they had improved in just that short period of time. And then one of them went out here. We used to have a grand piano sitting in the lobby, and he went, hey, a piano. And he sat down and started playing the Eagles like it was nothing. So we're talking real musicians, and we're really looking forward to them being back with us.
Yes, we do. So we got some great shows coming up. Just a little segue into that. We're going to talk about murders.
And electrocutions.
Electrocutions. Chief of polices, not the current chief of polices. We're not getting into that. Yeah. These are years ago situations. But
we've got the folks from the L&N Depot in Etowah coming in and talking about the new exhibit they have there and all the things going on up in that side of Polk County.
So we have something a little bit different, and and like I say, when I say the murders, we've had one sheriff murdered. And down toward your way down there by the Boring brothers. Yeah. We're going to come in and we're going to talk about Israel Smith's murder. We've got, I know Chip Bryant's coming, and we got another person we hope to get to come with him. And if we do, that'll be a good to see that old friend back out in the public.
Yeah.
Now, if I grow some good tomatoes this year, and tomatoes on little bitty seeds, how would I get them seeds out? Says I'm gonna grow them again next year. How would I get those tomato seeds out?
They have to be heirloom plants, don't they, Gene?
Yeah, if they're
you buy a hybrid, you're out of luck.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to end up.
Yeah.
But the heirloom seeds, Rutgers.
The way they got some of the Rutgers now, they don't do well.
Oh, yeah.
I ordered some of the original Rutgers the other day because I think all mine's got mixed and stuff. So I ordered some. They're not very disease resistant, but I ordered some Rutgers 3040s, I think they are called, and those were established like in the 1920s. Those seed.
What about if I grow a tomato this year? How do I get the seeds out of that? And if I want to grow,
if you grow an heirloom,
if it's heirloom, how do I get the seeds out of? I understand okra. That's pretty big, easy seed. Those tomato seeds are little bitty darn thing. It's amazing what one of them little bitty seeds turns into.
I have. I don't know what Gene has. I have a little screen like funnel screen, very fine, and I'll take my knife or something and get those seeds out, put them down, and then I rinse all the juices and stuff off of them,
pulp and all that.
Yeah, and then I'll take them and I'll put them like on a brown grocery sack or something and let them dry completely.
And then over the winter, you just want to store them in cool, dark, or dry dark, or
I store dry dark. But after mine dries well, I put them in like baggies and I freeze all my seeds. I don't keep none out no more. Years ago we did, and first thing we know we'd have things eating up our seeds. But boy, I got seed that's 30 years old, my bean seed, and they'll still come up just as good as if it's come off a vine.
Well, people say freeze ones. Well, it's no different if they fell off the plant just natural way and down in the ground, and it freezes. It's no difference.
Yeah.
So, but when it gets hot, it comes out.
But
seeds are a pretty amazing creation.
They are.
I mean, take that little bitty tomato seed. I mean, it's a speck.
Absolutely.
And you put it in there, and it's a 6-foot tomato plant. It's got just huge tomatoes on it. You go, that's just amazing. The tomato seeds, I think, are one of the tiniest things.
When we think about everything that's made, that we use, that's made out of corn, it's amazing to me, too. The other day I read it or heard it somewhere that if mankind did not help corn grow every year, it would eventually, in just a few years, disappear. I think that's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And they said the original corn that they can think of was popcorn.
Yeah.
So we always knew the ancient men like things we like, popcorn.
So anything but hybrid seeds, that are hybrid plants, and which usually are more disease resistant, right? A hybrid plant.
Yeah.
And usually supposed to put out more fruit, but you can't reproduce that from its own seeds. Right. Normally, I mean,
not very successful.
Right? Yeah, they're.
You might hit a plant that hasn't been crossed up like Gene says. You don't know what you're getting because they're hybrid. You don't know what's been mixed into them, the pollinations.
So if you take a seed out of a cantaloupe like you get at the store, and you plant it, you may get something totally different than what you ate. Mm-hmm. Most likely, you would get something. Yeah. It's kind of like it's a blend, but only one of the kinds of seeds will usually grow. Well, that's what I understand.
It's just like, we're talking about plants, but, turkey farms now, they have bred the turkeys so that the breasts are bigger on the turkey. Right. And the turkeys actually have trouble walking now because
That's right.
Of course, for us, when we eat the turkey, we like the larger breast.
Yeah.
That's not a joke, guys. But move on.
There's keep going, Ron.
Turkeys. But that they have, done all the chemicals and DNA, and they've made the turkey breast larger so that it's. And they do the same thing with corns and that, And I know you guys probably think that maybe that's not as good a thing for you. Is that if it changed the corn, what did that corn do to me when it went in me?
I think what they're doing, the stuff that they're putting in the chickens and the turkeys and stuff is having an adverse effect on all of us.
They feed chickens, what is it?
Arsenic
and things aimed at
antibiotics.
Well, let me ask you, if you were a farmer or say you hadn't farmed or gardened in 10 years, you'd moved into town. Now you've moved out in the country and you've got you 3 or 4 acres and you got a little clear spot and you want to start gardening. How do you find those heirloom seeds and those originals? I mean, if you go to seed stores, can you actually buy an honest heirloom, or is there a place in town, or you just say, hey, on Facebook, anybody got any heirlooms? I mean, how do you do it, Gene?
Well, most places now, since heirlooms are, people are trying to get away from the GMOs,
mm-hmm.
Genetic modified,
right?
And they have a display of organic, but you just get a few seeds, But that'll get you started, that you save your seeds. And talking about saving tomato seeds, what I do, like the little lid that comes on shaving cream, I'll clean it up good and set it there and rake my tomatoes in there because they're encased in that little membrane, and it's hard to wash off. Yeah. And if you put it in that little container and let it sit, in a warmer place, in 2 or 3 days it'll start bubbling. It's fermenting with the natural yeast that's in there. And after the 3rd day, if it's bubbling good, you put it in your strainer or sifter and gently rub it, and you have less chance of damaging that seed.
Yeah.
And then you just put it under the water and wash the membrane away.
Mm-hmm. Now, Gene, did you lose some seeds this year to varmints in your barn? Was that you?
Yes.
Yeah, what happened?
Squirrel got in. And I had come up with the grand idea of keeping my seeds in a plastic jar and my okra seed, and they ate right through that thing. And of course, I'm so particular with that okra that I've got gallons of it stashed back, labeled, the year and everything. and because I don't want to lose it. I grow pods that long and still just as tender as it can be.
You know how you solve the squirrel problems?
Yeah.
Lead poisoning.
Yeah. Traps and lead poisoning.
We had ours eat our tomatoes.
Yeah, they were eating our tomatoes, and they'd eat just a big round of it and suck all the juice out of it, and then leave it on there, and you'd go.
Then they'd bring it to our back door and lay
I
down.
said, I'm going to get them. I took out some cayenne pepper powder, and I put it all over my tomato plants. This must have been Mexican squirrels because they ate every bit of it.
Licked it up.
Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron Deb. How's it going?
Hey, Bullet. What's up, buddy?
My brother wanted me to call and ask your guest. He won't use it.
That's okay.
He wanted me to ask him, when is the best time to grow melons, and how do you do it, the watermelon?
Okay, we'll answer that. Thanks, Bullet. All right, if somebody who don't have heirloom watermelon seeds, what do they need to do? Now, I know occasionally you'll cut a watermelon, and wherever you cut it, those seeds will come up and they'll grow a little bit, and you'll at least get a little watermelon. But you need to start with fresh seeds from Lowe's or somewhere.
If you find heirloom seeds.
Yeah, heirloom seeds are always the best, yes. But how do you, if you just want to plant a few watermelon plants, what do you do?
I'll save the seeds, The watermelon's easy. I rinse them off, especially people that put salt on it. You won't get rid of that salt. And just spread them out. I use a plate with a paper towel. And just spread them out where they're not on top of each other, touching anything. And let them dry. And I freeze very little. Some seeds I do. But most of mine goes into envelopes. But I've learned to keep them hidden in Peggy's china cabinet. So
that's a safe place.
I raise stars and moons. You familiar with that?
Yeah, I know.
Is that watermelon?
Yeah.
So why do they call it stars and moons?
It has round spots like this on it that looks like a moon, and then it has little yellow spots around it that looks like stars.
And that's an heirloom plant?
Yes.
How and you kind of heal it up when you plant a watermelon plant a little bit?
Well, I start out on flat and then dig my hole, and then I'll fill that hole full of compost and kind of mix it up, and then I'll start making a hill out of it, just walk around it and hold it up, and then I'll plant my seeds.
3 seeds?
Yes, to a hill.
Okay. And then at any point in time, do you let the vine just grow as far as it wants to grow, or do you?
Well, if it's growing towards a place I'd like to keep mowed, I'll train it.
Okay.
Gently turn it back towards the garden.
Okay.
But my cucumbers I grow on cattle panel.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of space to grow cantaloupe, watermelon, pumpkins, gourds, those kinds of things. That if you don't have a big garden.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Doc Hollywood coming at you guys.
Hey, Doc Hollywood, how are you?
Hey, I've been listening on your program this morning here, and of course I'll slip in a shameless plug at the end. But hey, when I was a kid, now I used to swallow the watermelon seeds. I think I'm way overdue to squirt out a patch or so.
Well, if you'll just go plow you up some ground and just let nature take its course there, Doc, you'll get you some watermelons. Pre-fertilized.
Pre-fertilized. Word with it, man. Hey, quickly here, guys, remember back, it may have been a fad back in the 80s or so. Of course, I'm stuck in the 80s. But back of a magazine, you could order like a little 3-inch by 3-inch plot of grass, and you plant it in your yard, and it was, over the years it would expand. Those things still exist.
Zoya grass. It was a little square. You'd get a lot of plugs. You would order them, and they'd give you 20, 30, 40, 50 plugs, and you went around and spread them around in your yard and put them out. And I guess that does work. I don't know if that's Zoya grass. There are pros and cons to whether you use a different type of grasses you use. Yeah. Some stay green year-round. Some's going to die out. Some's hardier here. So, but yeah, you can still get that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I haven't seen that ad like that they used to have.
Usually in the insert. In the banner
or something, you'd always see it. But hey, I heard you guys talking earlier on your weed killer post. You share this with you. When me and my brother were kids, we were going to help out a poor little tree. It was infested with ants, and it was about big around as my arm. And we came up with our potion, a potion to kill ants. And get this, guys, it's a recipe. It'll rival the gentleman's weed killer there. We started out with an ounce or so of my dad's high karate cologne, grandma's milk and magnesia, of course some salt and pepper, several drops of 3-in-1 oil, probably half a bottle of vanilla extract, baking soda. Sure, we put a couple of Alka-Seltzer tablets in it. And our final ingredient to my brother's and I's potion to kill the ants was Grandma's Mercurochrome. Well, it killed the ants all right.
And the tree.
And the doggone tree. You know, it's wonders that stuff hasn't blown up in our face. What do you think, Rod?
Well, if you'd put a beer in there, you'd been dead.
That would have been it, but yeah, it was our potion for back in the day.
Now, let me tell you a simpler thing if you want to kill the grass along the edge of your sidewalk.
Yeah.
Just go find you some moonshine and just pour it right along the edge of your sidewalk, and there won't be any grass grow there. But now if you get it on the sidewalk, it may eat away some of the concrete, too.
All right. One last thing, I didn't make a note on pack saddles for your gas there. Those little devils stung me. I don't know how many times in the grandma and grandpa's garden out there. Are those things extinct as well?
No, I could have brought you several last year.
Oh, what is the job of those things on Green's Earth here? I mean,
to turn into a moth. They turn into that huge lunar moth. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, anything that's a caterpillar type thing is going to turn into a moth or a butterfly.
Yeah.
Boy, those things that sting you right on the underarms or the edge of the arm.
Well, I never got them underneath my arms. Now,
where'd you get it?
They got my hands, back of my hands, and my. Yeah, I never get them that far up in there. They got on my bell pepper plants a lot, and you'll reach in there and grab you a bell pepper, and you'll end up with a sting sometime.
That's what we need to. If anything needs eradicating on Green's Earth, it's them devils. But quickly here tonight, Saturday Night Fever show, Doc Hollywood 70s, 80s R&B disco, right there on that same channel, 6 to 8 p.m. Solid Gold Dancer. Have a good time. Tune in and call in 614-5553 and get your request in tonight on Doc's Dynamite.
So what's the first song you're gonna play from the 80s tonight?
Well, we typically start out with my opening theme song, Ron. Guess there it's Disco Inferno.
Bring back some memories when all of us used to have hair. You still got hair. The rest of us, we're still worrying about ours.
Well, I tell you guys, your guests don't know my hair is down to my belt, and each time I take a shower, I take a Q-tip and have to clean it out of the drain. It's like each day I expect to wake up and have none. It's just incredible how it just comes.
Yeah, it's going to get worse, Doc. And you know what, Doc? Plumbers love you. Hey, Doc, tell us what time again tonight.
6 to 8 p.m. right there on Whoop Radio. Doc.
And it may go to 8:30 if you keep calling and want songs played, right?
That's exactly right. We're going to Chinese overtime. More work, less we get paid.
You can do that in 3 minutes around Whoop, can't you? All right. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. You know, these seed things are just amazing to me. And I've heard all kind of something else I've tried this year. I tell you, every year I try to plant something new. I have planted asparagus. You can't get the plants or the sets until they'll ship them to you like in December. And I planted them, and they supposed to come up, and you can't have asparagus for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they're a perennial.
That's right.
That's what Walmart's for. You go and buy your asparagus.
Well,
it's expensive too.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I may have to.
It don't take much to satisfy me.
I may have to continue to buy mine. It's because I haven't seen anything come up where I planted them. I think I got 6 started, and we'll see. And they get to be about 4 foot tall. Have you ever done asparagus?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Too aggravating.
Yeah, I've got a row of asparagus now down on the back side of my garden.
Now you're supposed to harvest it when it turns green and before it turns woody, right?
Yeah,
because that sprouts actually.
Yeah, the shoots will come up
and they'll turn into wood.
They turn into a big stalk.
Right.
Big. Yeah, mine get probably 6 feet tall.
Wow.
I've got to see that. I got to go get
mine might be 2.5 foot deep.
But when they shoots start coming up, I rob it pretty good. But I haven't been because, the longer you wait, the more you're going to have.
Yeah.
And you do kill some of those back when you start cutting them too soon.
Okay, let's get this call.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, Red.
Hey, Red. What's up, sister?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead. It always makes me nervous when you have a question.
How do you kill a tree and make it look like it died normally?
Make it look like it died of natural causes.
Yeah.
Well, what was it, Doc, his recipe that he had?
I don't want his recipe. I want a recipe where you can put something around the ground, just kill it and let it die.
What kind of tree are you trying to kill?
Well, I don't want to say, and I don't want to say where it's at.
You're not going to Alabama and trying to kill that tree again, are you?
No, it's
I'm going to kill a tree up here where I live.
her neighbors done got her mad about something. You know that stuff that you used to make?
That moonshine?
No, that just make it grow. Right?
Oh, no. You pour it right on the roots, it'll die. It'll sag at least.
Now, I believe it'd just be happy if you poured that on it.
Likewise, Bob Rossi and painted a happy little tree.
But isn't there something you can pour down the roots of them and kill them?
You can go to Beatty's or something, and Lowe's, any place, and they'll get you something. It's a root kill, and it'll probably kill the grass around there too, but it'll get the tree. Yeah.
No, I don't want to kill a hoe. I just want to kill the tree and make it look like it.
Well, the grass will come back eventually, but you'll kill the tree. Now, if it's a really big tree, I think you'll have a harder trouble. If it's a smaller tree, you can probably kill it a lot easier. But
it's a pretty good sized tree.
I think that will be harder. I mean, I've never killed a tree. There's a guy down there in Alabama that killed the Auburn tree or the Auburn.
What I was talking about.
Yeah. So maybe you could get with him. Of course, he went to jail for killing a tree. Just a warning there.
That's the reason why I don't want to leave no evidence behind. I just want to pour it in the ground.
This ain't the same one where you're going to shoot the lawnmower, was it?
No, I wouldn't. She got an old tree growing out there. She got it pretty high. I watch her knock the leaves off it in the fall and sit and laugh at her. When fall of the year comes, she takes her broom and knocks the leaves off of it and sweeps them up.
Now, let me ask you another question. When are you going to go out with Bob Cash and get him off my back about you?
Well, Bob Cash never called me back. I called him. He never did call me.
Well,
you scared him.
Bob, you didn't accept his collect call, I think what it was.
I don't do collect calls. So.
Well, Bob does. I mean, that's the way Bob rolls there. You have to understand Bob's.
Well, I'd have to save up enough money to feed us. He wouldn't even buy anything. So
he said he would buy you a crystal.
One crystal?
Yeah, I mean, the rest was on your own.
I don't think that'd hardly be worth it.
I don't think Bob's worth it, to tell you the truth, but
if he's got anything that'll kill the tree, I'll call him.
Well, I'm just not going to say that. I'm going to go on.
I know what chatting, just don't even
Don't go there, Ron. Don't go there.
All right. I think he's killed a few brain cells, so he might be able to kill the tree.
Thanks, Red. It's always fun to talk to you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye.
Before we go to the break here, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, my mom, happy birthday, Tommy Stevenson. She will be 86 on Monday. Happy birthday to her. And we'd like to acknowledge that, we know that several people died in the community this weekend, but Steve Bivens lost his wonderful wife, Dinah Bivens, I believe, on Thursday.
Thursday or Friday.
And
yes.
Thursday or Friday. And it was a unexpected death, and we just like to send our sympathies out to that extended family. And you folks stay with us. We're going to take a short break. We're going to play Gone Home.
And we do that every week for anybody, any loved ones that you've lost or family members or friends, and we try to play that every week. Just a little way to honor all those people in our community.
And we'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash. The cash you need is closer than you think.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500 at Check Into Cash.
You drive home with the cash in your pocket.
Visit Check Into Cash for an auto title loan today, or get a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH. Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow
they've gone home. They have gone home. Gone they have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Life here is lonely since they've gone before. Gone. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. The old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sighs. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall. Where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old, or just me? Did all my friends get old, or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told, or just me?
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553, and if you're out of town, say 423-614-5553.
And I'd like to say hello to everyone that's on the internet this morning. We got a big crowd on the internet this morning, and today's show is just a warm-up. Starting all the Saturdays in April, we're going to go on the air.
We'll be talking all your gardening, and we'll be talking about when you start planting your maters and how you might do bees and anything you want to do. We'll talk about that. We've got Kenneth Roark and Gene Flowers here
We're going to
today.
be on the air from 9 to 10 every Saturday in April doing with Master
The gardening
Gardeners,
stuff.
and then we're going to do our regular Old Town Cleveland show.
And we
be
got a
sure
lot of
to
great
tune
stuff.
in.
And I wanted to say that Cleveland Speedway started back last night. It was a little cool, and so
They had a fairly good crowd for a cool night.
and it's early in the season. So if Chad,
support them.
if Chad's listening, Chad Elliott, who runs the track down there, if he's listening, give us a call and give us a report. Or if anybody who happened to go down there,
I have a feeling we'd hear from one of the winners.
Oh yeah, at least. But that's going on. And mention someone left us a 2-page letter here this morning. He gave us a call.
I think it's a copy of one page.
Anyway, it's talking about different nationalities. For example, the Irish basically, when brought here, were basically brought here as almost slave labor, 10 cents an hour. And there's a lot of that information, and we just hadn't had enough time to digest all that, but we will include all this here in the future.
It's like a big book report,
Yeah. So one mentioned that we did get that, and we will be talking about that kind of stuff. And there also, if you haven't noticed here in Cleveland now, if you go up First Street, where the law office used to be there next to the dry cleaners. It's gone. That building is gone. And underneath that building is one of the original springs of Bradley County, or one of the recognized, I should say, organized areas of what was called Taylor's Place. And so that spring is going to be reestablished. They're going to make just a little honorable park there. I understand what they're going to do.
A little green space with the spring actually coming so that people can, especially children, can see an actual spring anymore. And probably going to have a spring house.
And of course, that was Cherokee property. And then there's a gentleman by the name of Andrew Taylor who married into the Cherokees and became the owner of the land and sold it and back and bought it and sold it and back and forth. So
I'm kind of thinking maybe next week. We don't have a show planned for next week, but then we're booked all the way to the middle of May. That maybe we'll talk about Andrew Taylor and the spring and the establishment of Bradley County.
One thing is that Bradley County, or the city, this Bradley County seat is Cleveland, and it's here because all the men in the area took a vote, and it won by one vote. If it had not been here, it would have been over by where the new whirlpool plant is, which was Deer in the Waters
place.
Yeah, and so if you'll notice, a railroad comes down from Knoxville almost in a straight line all the way till it gets to Cleveland, and all of a sudden it takes this huge turn and comes down where Cleveland is. If not, it would have went straight on right to where the whirlpool plant is. So by one vote, and that guy voted illegally. So
imagine that.
Can you believe that Bradley County history has some kind of controversy all the way back to 1836? Yeah. So we will tell you about that later on, but that's things going there. We're talking about heirloom seeds and growing by the signs and different ways to get your earth ready and when you should and shouldn't plant. And, we'll just talk about next I want to ask you, all of us here in the room, we're all 6-7 years apart, in age,
except me, I'm extremely young.
You're 8 years, okay. You look much younger than all of us. How's that?
That's right. I'll take that.
But I'm sure your grandfathers and your great grandfathers had to garden if they wanted to eat, and and a lot of them may have had cows, so they had some fresh milk and everything. Right. I mean, and I think we probably all do it now just for more of the fun of it, and we enjoy growing things and doing that because Walmart's right down the road, and it's probably easier to go get some tomatoes than anything we just talked about here this morning. Mm-hmm. But they don't taste the same.
No.
Nothing tastes the same.
I'd rather do that.
Especially tomatoes.
Tomatoes, that's right. One thing was tomatoes.
Everything else I can get it to taste normal, but it's hard to go buy a mater.
Kenneth, tell us about about your family when growing up. I know they grew up down in the McDonald area, and and how long ago was it when? Maybe when you was young. Maybe I don't know. Did you have to grow a garden to eat, or
you did?
Yeah, we there was 5 of us, and my dad only worked, and he didn't make much money at Western Union Telegraph Company, but he made more than a lot of people in McDonald made. But still, there's 5 of us. And we lived off the land a lot. I started in the garden as soon as I was big enough to drop a seed, or as soon as I could go barefoot and step on a potato to make it come up quicker and that sort of thing. Our dad would have us do. So, he had his ways, and everybody's got their ways of gardening.
But you did it his way, didn't you?
We did it his way.
Yeah, now you do it your way now.
And like you were speaking earlier, your grandfather tried to get you to listen.
Yes.
Well, we didn't have that choice. So, it's just that's the way it was back when I was growing up.
I can't get Western Union out of my head. Where did he work and what did he do?
Chattanooga. He worked in Chattanooga, Western Union Telegraph Company. It's where they built these cases for the telegraph back in those days, what kind they had. He was a fit-up man for a welder.
Okay.
He's around welding all his life. He never would weld. If we built a wagon, I'd have to come over and weld. And, this ain't about gardening, but this is
that's okay. We talk about whatever we want to talk about.
This is how we started up, and then back to the gardening. We grew big gardens back then, and my mom canned everything.
Yeah, everybody cans. Yeah.
Everybody canned. That was preserving because firstly, we didn't even have a freezer.
If you don't know how to can, we have a cannery here that will can huge amounts for you. you have to sort of schedule your time, but they're
beginner friendly too.
Oh man, they really will help you. So that's over on the Peerless Road,
right.
and you can call them. Did you milk cows?
Absolutely. I milk cow every morning and every night. And before I went to school, I got up milked a cow. And my mom made buttermilk, processed the butter, and she'd sell that stuff for like 50 cents a pound. And that was big money for her back then. But she had regular customers, but I milked one cow every day. But now when my dad and them came up and bought that farm, they hand milked a small dairy. So that's how they was started back then, you know, when my grandpa bought that farm in the early 20s or late 20s. Mm-hmm. And there's been gardening in our family all of our life. And my dad, died at 87, and it wasn't about probably, 5 years before that, he had plenty of garden. Mm-hmm. He still grew garden.
Well, that's probably what kept him so young, wasn't it?
That's right.
It really was. So now when you made your own butter, and that butter tastes better than this margarine ever else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Gene, what about you? I mean, you sound like you grew up some city and some out in the country a little bit.
We always had a garden, and a ball jar was something sacred. You didn't catch lightning bugs and put in.
No.
Nothing went in that jar except food. And when it was empty, it was washed and air dried, and then the lid put back on it and stored for the canning time. And garden time come in, you canned, you run out of jars, and you come out with a thread and needle. And we would actually break the ends off string beans and push them up on that string through the needle and hang them up to dry, and we called them leather breeches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that was just a dry bean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was the dry green part too.
Okay. Yeah. And how did your mom cook that? See, I've seen them, but I don't remember ever seeing anybody cook them.
Number 3 tub, full of water, wash them off good, cut the end off string, put them in a pot, throw a piece of fat back in there and boil them. And they'd rehydrate. Basically what you was doing, dehydrating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
did your mom do that too, Kenneth?
No,
not too much.
He had more jars.
I believe he had a lot more jars than I had, but we never did dry too many beans. Now peas, all kinds of peas, whippoorwill peas. And
how do you dry the peas?
You just hull them, let them dry on the vine, and then hull them, and then we would. Like he was talking earlier, breaking his okra over. My dad, he always just took a stick and put them in a burlap bag and beat that bag, and it would shell out all those peas or okra. Wow. And then the first, when it's first available windy day, that it was blowing hard enough, you could raise that bucket up and high enough that the wind would blow all that trash out of those seeds to fall in the next bucket. And then we was able to get a hold of a fan, so boy, we could do it anytime we wanted to. Then we'd set the fan there. And
big city living, right?
And hey, you clean them just like you buy them at the store. Now, I mean, it would totally clean every bit of the trash out of them.
Yeah. And that folks had a tendency not to grow anything unless it was usable. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily grow flowers or anything. Now your family may have, but I know back when folks were really having to feed themselves, you used every space. It's kind of like the Mennonites do. They don't grow anything that's just for the flowers or anything.
Did you have to milk any, Gene, or did you do that?
I milked at Mr. Nippers. He had a couple of milk cows, and I'd go up there and milk, and he'd give us milk. And we made butter we didn't have a churn, but had a half-gallon jar. We'd chuck it.
My mom had a daisy churn. Y'all know what that is? The glass one you can see through with the little crank handle.
Yeah.
So
she made butter.
I know.
We had a goat.
Oh, did you?
That we milked. It's strong.
Yeah. My dad. He had some stomach problems, and someone put him on goat milk. Told him to drink goat milk, and we had milk goat for quite some time there, and we milked that goat, and he drank that milk, but I could never handle it.
I've never drank goat milk.
I couldn't handle it. It's pretty stout.
I drunk silk milk, but I don't know how they get it out of there.
How they milk those almonds.
How do you milk them things? I don't know.
Very easy.
Put them up on a stand.
Very on a stand, a little bit tiny.
Put them up on a stand. You can stand there and milk them.
Well, let me ask you now. I bet a treat that you guys had was you'd go get that fresh milk and you'd make ice cream out of it. Did you ever make ice cream out of your fresh milk?
Well, yeah, you could. I mean,
but was it better?
I don't recall us having a ice cream maker.
When we got electric refrigerator, me and my brother would walk to my grandpa's house with a can of cream. And he would make ice cream, and it tasted just like snow cream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that can of cream and a can of water and put it in there. He had those free-range Benny chickens.
Yeah.
And we go down there and get a couple of those eggs and break in there and beat it up real good. And a little vanilla and a little sugar. And you put it up there, and back then they had metal trays, and they always had that one big one. You put it in it. And then you put it in the freezer, and you wait about 45 minutes. You go in there and stir everything up again, smooth it back out, and refreeze it.
Yeah.
And then between the two of us, we could empty that tray out in a little while.
You worked hard for it.
Yeah.
I know when Jerry Frazier's family was on here, and they lived right down here
on Ocoee Street,
south of Ocoee Street Church in that area. And although they lived in town, they still had a cow. And every morning they had to walk it up there on what was now Graveyard Hill to let it go up there and pasture a little bit, graze.
Yeah.
And then every day they come bring it back down and milk it. So, I think we're just, this new era has never had to do that kind of stuff. There are people here, that, I guess if you're one of the Hannah boys down there, I bet their boys have milked some cows.
They can milk a cow or two.
Hannah boys may have, but most of us haven't milked cows. Most of us, you don't. Your carrots come from Walmart. Matter of fact, the Master Gardener organization works with the Bradley County Juvenile Court System, and twice a year, the juvenile judge picks some young men and women who are headed in the wrong direction.
That's right.
And the judge gives them an option. They can go to jail, or they can come spend 12 weeks, one day a week, one night a week, learning how to be a gardener. And when they first come in, some of them don't realize that carrots grow in the ground, or that you can grow things, and that you can't make a garden. So at the juvenile center, the old Justice Center, Gene, where you and I spent a few days.
Now, that doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right. Not inside. We were putting people inside. We want to make sure we clear that out. But up on top of the hill up there is no dirt up there. That's the old not Templin Hill. What is it? Big Spring School. If you ever remember the old Big Spring School, is sitting on that hill up there, and there's no topsoil. But they have put raised boxes in there, and thanks to people like Beatty Hardware and Beatty Feed, they bring us some unbelievable grow mix up there, and they've grown some of the most unbelievable crops. The Volunteer Electric Cooperative donated money to help us build a greenhouse there last year. So we have a greenhouse up there that we're actually starting plants with now, that's showing how to get them from seeds up. So it's a great education. Some of these kids may never use it again, like me, not remember what my grandpa told me, but it's amazing what some of these kids have learned. At least they have some basics to that, and we have found that out of these kids, I think we're into about 80 kids now, only 2 or 3 of them have ever had to return back to court. Now, I don't know if we had anything to do with it.
Well, maybe a little bit at least, but for them to see that there's something.
There was an option there. You go spend time in jail, which, when you're young, I don't know what that's just a pure punishment. Maybe they learned something and got a second chance. So we'll say, the gardening is, is a lot to a lot of people, and thanks to those the junior gardeners class and Judge Swalford, Daniel Swalford, to thank him for accepting to do this type of project. They all got together and decided on it, and so it's worked out really great. And that's an innovative way that tax dollars are not being spent on housing prisoners and the I can't say those big words either.
Yeah. You got a speech impediment too.
Yeah, I got a speech impediment too. That return back to jail, recidivism. I got it right. I think that time. Let's just move on.
Made that up. Yeah, let's move on.
But we won't say that. Now, when you talk about crop failures and everything, what's something that you ever remember a year that just you did everything right, but just something just totally. I know you had the manure thing, but any other time you said you couldn't figure out what went on, or you said, darn, I did that wrong. I mean, over the years you couldn't have had a perfect garden every time, have you?
Well, in your backyard where you have water, you can just about have a perfect garden every year. But now, back when we used to grow 5 and 10 acres of corn, and we plowed it with a mule, and we hoed it by hand, it'd come droughts, and you'd lose half your crop because your ears of corn wouldn't be but half the size they should be. And we'd break down sometime and just put straight nitrogen, to try to, because nitrogen forms moisture.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd try to save some of our crops putting a lot of nitrogen, side dressing nitrogen. We did do things, and it took a lot of our money that we really didn't have, to do stuff like that.
Then I'm shifting gears and going in a different direction here. Growing up, do either one of you remember the first time you ever saw Ducktown, Copper Hill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What'd you think?
I didn't want to live there. That's what I thought.
You didn't want to live there.
I thought I'd went into space someplace. Daddy worked. My daddy, the trough that they built down the river for the river to run in, he run all the telephone lines on that.
Oh.
And he would take us up to Copper Hill, and I was just amazed. Just red dirt and silt in the creeks.
Yeah.
It's just awful. Nothing growing.
Yeah.
3-legged frogs.
Yeah.
5-legged frogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the folks that we interviewed in the documentary that's coming up, I thought it was really funny. He had never seen it before. His family had never seen it before, and they had been transferred there. And so they came around the river road, Utopia. And as soon as they got to Ducktown, his mom was wanting to look for a phone because she was sure that place had been bombed, and that's about what it looked like. Of course, people that lived there didn't think anything about it. But I always just like to ask people, what did you think?
Well, as a young boy, it was just an amazing place. I wanted to go through there, just look at it. Yeah. I don't think I wanted to live there either, but, it's pretty interesting that they didn't have to worry about snakes and bugs because there was no bugs and there was no other things to eat it, no snakes eat those things. Mm-hmm. So it was just...
It was an environmental disaster is what it was.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, Dave. So...
anyway, I'm sorry for changing gears, but I thought both of you were probably old enough to at least remember the last few years that everything was bald.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 60s, it was still just like it was.
There were portions of it. And the reason I thought about that is someone told me, too, while I was interviewing them, that there was cattle that was kept there in Ducktown until 1950-something because it was not incorporated, and it was, just like here, everybody had a barn and a cow. And they would walk the cows over to a pasture that was just on the other side of a rise that prevented from getting hit with that gas. And there was a beautiful green field over there that everybody grazed their cattle in. Yeah. And I thought that was amazing with it being just right there in that disaster.
Yeah.
Do you know that there's 2 cranberry bogs in Copper Hill?
I didn't know that.
There are 2 cranberry bogs.
I didn't know it.
I'm going.
Now, they don't flood it and take the cranberries off, do they?
I think it's naturally flooded. Well, I understand it. Maybe Ken Rush, who's the director up there, but they can
tell us.
They have cranberry bogs up there. Now, how they got started or who put them there, maybe
I haven't seen them.
But confirmed a couple of people by that. Just thought about growing things. So,
well, that's one thing that's happened in this area is that. There's just not money in growing tobacco anymore. And I don't think Bradley County in my lifetime has been real big with growing tobacco, but now McMinn County was.
McMinn County's always been like, Bradley County has very limited tobacco
And here in the
growth
last few years, as the allotments for tobacco have gone down, those folks have started growing turf.
Yeah.
There's even somebody doing freshwater shrimp in McMinn County, or they were. I don't know if they're still doing that. But they've had to change gears and turn a different way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think and then the environment has to be different. I won't get any political climate change type stuff, but we have tended to be a little hotter, or too wet, or too hot, or it just seemed like the cycle has changed tremendously, and it may just be exactly that. It may just be a cycle, or it could be all the pollution we've put up into the air and all that, and they're saying the water may raise 10 foot and flood Miami. I'll never miss it, but I hate it for those people. But so if you had your choice, what would you have for supper on a regular basis? What's your favorite thing out of the garden? I mean, it gets fresh, about middle of June, 1st of July, everything's fresh. What do you want?
Well, I love squash, and I love okra, of course, and then mashed potatoes or fried potatoes or any way you fix potatoes, and that's one of my downfalls. I eat too many potatoes because I grow too many.
Yeah.
And it just and tomatoes, slices of tomatoes.
So you had to have a slice of tomato in there somewhere.
Tomatoes to go with all that. It's just there's nothing like going out in your garden and picking your dinner or supper to fix and enjoy that.
What about you, Gene? What do you like?
Tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I'm waiting on. And then my okra. And the tomatoes, I think Peggy put up 80 quarts of whole tomatoes last year. Yeah. And we eat a lot of soups in the winter.
Yeah.
And then I make the salsa. And I put up about 40 pounds of homemade salsa. Yeah. And then I love stewed tomatoes when the okra comes in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to cut the okra longer because it'll boil away while you're trying to get canned. And I can take a jar full of it and a piece of cornbread and heat it up, pour over that cornbread, instant meal. Of course, I'm the only one that eats it because it has a lot of jalapeno in it. And I love boiled okra. Well, you don't actually boil it. If you boil it, I can't eat it. I blanch it.
I like.
So it's still gooey on the inside.
I like pickled.
No, okay.
I like the pickled okra.
I pickle okra.
I like pickled okra.
I pickle green tomatoes.
Would you like to adopt Ron?
He'd fit right in.
He's in here, yeah.
You wouldn't have as much left at the end of every year, though.
Well, you gotta put your mind to the side when you want to boil some little short okra.
Yeah.
Now, just put your mind away about the slick environment of it, but you can boil some young okra and put your little butter in there with it
and garlic.
Little garlic's okay. But I just love boiled okra and butter.
Just think
put it out on a plate.
Just think that you got that. You could have raw oysters and that, and it just all slide down. You wouldn't have to worry about it, right?
But if you just blanch it, as soon as it changes color.
Yeah.
If you got a water basket, to put it in.
Yeah.
And as soon as it changes color, you pull it out. And if you got real cow butter and little garlic salt,
Yeah.
And then you put the butter on there and it starts melting. And then you put the little garlic salt and a whole lot of garlic powder and put a lid on it, turn it upside down, let it soak in, and it's wonderful.
I think the Bird Dog Haney up here from up around Tasso, every year when they have a farmer market, and they had some down here at Tractor Supply.
Yeah,
he was selling fresh butter up there. He runs a dairy up there, and so he'll have fresh butter, and you don't. It's hard to find just anywhere.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so, what squash? When do you plant squash? I've heard it's early and it's late. When's a good time to plant squash?
1st of May. I mean, you might plant it 2 weeks from now, and it may come up. We're still going to have our dogwood winter, blackberry winter. We're still going to have some cool weather.
And those winters are important to how things grow, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah.
I've always heard it help set the blooms where they open up and pollinate better and make a better crop.
Yeah. But they, my experience is planting that stuff too early. It just sits there. And then when it's warm, it'll take off. But I've seen people who plant them like 2 weeks from now, middle of this next month. And their plants will come up and they'll sit there. And then this other gardener will wait till 1st of May and they plant the same thing. And theirs will outgrow the ones that's been sitting there. And it's in the neighborhood, it's in the same area. It's not because of conditions or anything. It's just it just don't grow good when cool weather strikes.
Now, do you start your seeds early indoors, or do you plant them all directly in the ground?
You start some of them indoors, and then I got to where most of my broccoli and stuff, I go pick it out at Beatty's or Ace Hardware somewhere, and I like to pick those plants. And
so you get a head start, and you see what you get.
Yeah,
right?
it is, and I've planted it real early. Like I've already had it out this time of the year, and it'll sit there. But nothing's gonna grow too fast until the ground gets 50 degrees or above.
A few odd plants out there, but basically most of yours.
Well, just garden in general.
Basically garden crop.
Yeah, I mean, like the early stuff, it's going to sit there pretty much too until it gets 50 degrees.
Okay, so let's say we have someone who wants to start a small garden, maybe the size of our control room here. Row some bell pepper plants and tomato plants and a squash plant here or there. Not a lot of great stuff or anything. And they dug up the ground. Of course, first thing is, you got to figure out what the pH of the soil is, and you either do it like you said, or figure out Gene's magic way, or go buy that little. It's not a kit. You just go get the kit from the Extension AC. Yeah. I would do that soon, because the later you wait, there's more people going to do that. So do it now, and you'll get your results back probably in 7 or 8 days. And they'll tell you what to do. And then your soil may not be worth growing anything in right now. So what could you do if you don't have the composting, which is the best way, I think? You got to put something back in there. So can you go down to Clayton Beatty and say, hey, I got this, that's what they said in my report, and he'll give you something? Or
they'll give you something.
They'll charge you for it too.
Yeah.
But now in the small room though, I mean, what could you do? I mean, could you just first off start a compost bin, go on and read about it on the internet, and if you do a small compost pile with the scraps you use, no meats in there. You don't want anything that will attract bugs and animals, of course. But bugs is okay. I mean, it's because they get in there and eat and help do that. But just nothing cooked, and basically raw stuff, raw vegetables where you cut the stems off of things, grass clipping. Your old plants from this year. The old plants. Take them up, tear them up, throw them in your compost. Start that now, and then by next year you can up that. Now, you ain't gonna cover a garden this side of your room with most compost piles. It takes quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, farmers have big piles of it, and your kitchen scraps ain't gonna be great.
Well, see, we had cattle we raised, and we had lots of manure and hay mixed together, and it was strong, and we'd load up wagon load and go throw on our garden. That's what we had to build our garden in our days. We didn't even buy fertilizer, and that's all we'd use. You could go buy a bag of what we used to call it burnt lime or something like that, to throw on there and help change the pH. But like I say, over a period of years, you can pretty much figure out the context of the soil you need to grow garden vegetables. But you can also go, several places have this compost from the mushroom farms. And that's excellent stuff to start on a poor piece of soil. If you got poor soil, just go buy some of that. I don't know how much it is now, maybe $40 a scoop, which would cover a pretty good little area. But a lot of people don't work up their soil deep enough either. They'll just scratch the top of the ground, plant a seed. Well, that seed the root penetration can't get into that hard soil. Plus, there's no moisture accumulated there. It all runs off. So you've got to have a place for those roots to grow for those plants.
Like I say, in Bradley County, the soil depth is going to be 4 to 6 inches before you run into a different layer of earth that's more clay or slate, and until you can break into that, there's just not enough water's going to run off that almost immediately. So something else, talking about where you plant the little garden is that it probably needs sunlight.
Absolutely.
You can't put it in the shade. And if you're just going to be a hobbyist gardener, I call myself a hobbyist gardener compared to you guys, is if you put it a mile from the house, you're going to forget about it. You're never going to do it. If you don't have some water to supplement it, you're going to be in trouble too there. Yeah. And if you can, I always said rainwater, put you some buckets out there and use it, because the water out of your hose has some.
Do you collect rainwater?
City water.
Yes.
How much rainwater do you collect?
I don't have nothing but 5-gallon buckets. And when I make the worm tea, I like to use nothing with fluoride in it to pour on those.
So you just leave buckets sitting out?
Yeah. But it brings up the mosquito population.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but I try to use it up quickly.
Well, I've known some people who collect barrels of rainwater. They even have their downspout run into it.
We talked about doing that.
Then they'll put this real fine mesh netting over that, and they don't have a mosquito problem. Because they don't get in there to lay the larvae, and then or I didn't ever see any in theirs. Just a couple of people I know.
There's some kind of little cork like something sponge. It has a hole in it. If you'll throw it in your water like that, it kills any larva, but it's still organic and won't. And I can't. It starts with an F. I can't remember what it is. So it sounds. Maybe we'll look that up on there. You get them at Lowe's and Beatty's and things like that. That'll help cut down your mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Somebody online wants to know what's the difference between doing container gardening like we do and then doing gardening out in a plowed area.
Theirs is better. Container gardening, you'll have to water more.
Yeah, we water a lot.
You have to get, there's some mixtures out there that you can add to it that will help hold water a little bit more. But you have to, it'll have to water, and you have to understand that the soil will get hotter or cooler also in the winter time. It gets a lot cooler. Yeah. In the summertime, it's going to get hotter, and that's why you're going to evacuate your soil. So now if you have some kind of trickle watering system for them, a little hose that has trickle on them, and you can, but you probably have to water a lot more often on a container than you would in your garden. What you hope out in your garden, it just rains about every 2 or 3 days. Yeah. If you do that, you're fine, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
container and raised beds. My theory, you need to water an inch a week if you don't get any rain. And of course, they got. You can buy, but it's so expensive in my opinion. But you can buy moisture control mixes that controls moisture.
That's what
that works. That works pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of the you find out a lot of the big greenhouses, they have to use, and there's a big name, I can't use those big words either, but they put it in with their potting soil. Yeah. And it helps keep that, and so it's designed to help things that are potted, because they're growing trees and they're growing this in them. So they do a lot of that, perennial plants. Yeah. So there is stuff that you can use to do that, and so you have to take that in consideration. Yeah. And and of course you need to you can go buy Miracle Grow garden soil. It's going to help, and it has some moisture control. But the bottom line is you still got to check your pH, and you still have to put some compost in there, because you just can't. Dirt just doesn't magically get more stuff in it.
No, none of this bag stuff you buy will not grow vegetables like the good old earth.
Yes,
grows them. So you got to substitute a lot of things.
And something too is, I know that the Cherokees, when they were here, would burn off an area, and I'm thinking that what does that do when you kind of burn off?
When you burn potash, you get a lot of potash out of burned leaves and that sort of thing. That's why when you burn grass off and you burn woods out and you see all this little greenery come up and it feeds the deer real well and stuff, you have created a lot of potash.
Yeah, and that has carbon.
Yeah, and that's plus that's a plant food.
Open it up to the sunlight too.
Yeah. Opens it up.
Hey, you can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking to Kenneth Roark and Gene Flowers here. We're talking about just growing stuff and having fun in the garden and eating for a living.
I saw Gene the other day had posted a picture where the deer were walking through your onion bed. Will they actually eat the plants?
That was mine.
Oh, was that yours, Ken? Yeah. Gene looked at me like, no.
No, Go ahead.
They just go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I've never had them to bother eating my onions.
They just walk through.
But I think it's just two young deer that continuously want to aggravate me.
They're just checking to see what you're about to grow they're going to eat. Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Ron, this is Bob Cash.
Hey, Bob Cash. How are you?
Hey, Bob wants to know if you can grow moonshine in a jar in the garden.
You fellas get me hungry. Listen, what I was going to ask you guys, gardeners, in planting a garden, like the old Indians used to do, you put fish in some of them hills to make it grow. Is that right?
Yeah, you can put fish in those hills. I caught some fish the other day, and I saved all the parts, and I'm going to put them under some of my tomato plants.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it works.
That's natural fertilizer right there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's good. Ron, I was wondering if Red going to plant a garden this year.
Well, she called earlier and was wanting to know how to poison something until it died, so I'd be careful about accepting things from her, Bob.
Oh, no.
She said she was trying to kill off a tree, but I don't know. It sounded kind of suspicious.
I was trying to help you out there. I told you you'd buy her a crystal.
Oh, yeah. And, what I could do, see, I could go at Walmart. They've got a sale on the candles.
Uh-huh.
Just a couple in, we can have a candlelight dinner, you see. Hey, listen, I'll let you go.
Thank you.
Program. I'm learning a lot about gardening.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob. Did when you lived down around Tinga down that area, did you ever grow a garden down there at your grandma's?
Yes, sir. Certainly did.
It was just something you did.
And my grandma and my granddaddy, they would make a pretty garden every year, and those rows were just as straight. And he didn't use a line to mark it or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yep.
well, we know all them Tinga folk down there, all our relatives down there. They all grew some good gardens, didn't they?
Oh yeah, and then there's some good groceries.
Yes.
All right, well I'll let you guys go. I'm learning a lot.
Thank you.
Enjoy your program. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Gosh, I can't believe it's going on 12 o'clock already.
Oh,
Man,
It's gone by quickly. I was wanting to tell Gene that I remember when I was a teenager, and I'll remember it again here in a minute. Let's get this call.
You'll know, remember in a minute. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, good morning. It's Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
What's up, sister?
I want to know if I can buy a couple of those purple sweet potatoes from the gentleman.
Or where did you get yours, Kenneth, your purple sweet potato?
I got mine in Oodewald, a little fruit stand down there. And but I think several of the grocery stores are handling the purple sweet potatoes now. I'm trying to get a hold of some purple arch potatoes. I think there's a farm down on Sand Mountain that grows those now.
Okay,
but I've not been able to get any to make seed out of yet.
We had the ones from Sand Mountain last year. We got them at the Chattanooga market.
Okay.
And we discovered a lot of purple things. The potatoes we loved. We also tried purple peppers, and my husband liked them. He kind of had a sweet taste to them. But I guess I didn't because they became translucent when they were cooked, and to me it just kind of looked like
purple slime.
In there, so.
Well, the purple, I ate some. Matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I liked them. I know the looks is not the same. It's just what our mind gets used to sometimes. But sometimes
aren't the purple a little sweeter?
Yeah, and they're more healthier for you. They got more antioxidants.
And Kenneth, which farmers market did you get those purple potatoes at? The one right there on Lee Highway?
Yeah.
Okay,
the
one
left,
right there
on the left, just you go in Oodewald. It used to be.
Okay.
You know which one it is, yeah. Okay.
But I think maybe Publix or somebody has them too.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me tell you what to do with all this stuff after you grow it.
What's that?
This is what we do probably about 3 times a week. Take some aluminum foil and pick you a meat, beef or chicken or whatever, and take all of those wonderful fresh vegetables, chop them up, have you just a bunch of different bowls, and everybody goes through and picks out what they want, and you put your meat and your vegetables in the foil, put some salt and pepper on it, a little bit of olive oil, and cook it on the grill for about 20 minutes. It's called a hobo meal, and it's probably the best thing you can cook.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah. You'll have to prove that to me, Lisa.
And we might start selling hobo packets at Central Park.
There you go. I'll be the first one in line.
Okay. Now, 2 weeks from now, I won't be here to hear your show next week, but 2 weeks from now, I'm calling the Master Gardeners and asking them all of my weed questions.
Yes, do. Start writing your questions now because, boy, they can answer
Did you hear Jean's weed killer recipe?
Yes, I did, and I've seen that on Facebook before.
Yeah, that will work.
I was also I heard Doc's ant killer. Carburetor cleaner will kill fire ants.
Oh.
Gasoline will too, but it also kills your grass.
Well, yeah, but you won't have fire ants for years, and you can put all that fire ant killer on it that you like, and they'll just move over.
That's what we find in our yard. They just
move.
Pick
That's
up, move.
Exactly right.
The carburetor cleaner, I got rid of them for 8 years. So.
If I can get the ants ate my tomatoes plants last year.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
No, not the plants, just the tomatoes. You'd pick up tomato and start walking towards the house, and next thing you know, your hands covered in ants. There's a little tiny hole in there, and I'm going. So, and then he was sitting there. That looks so good.
Okay. Well, I'll let you get on.
Thank
to the
you.
next caller.
All right. Bye bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
Very interesting. Anyway, my dad went to Ranger, North Carolina, where I had family members who the wife was Cherokee, and picked up a whole bunch of seeds one year, and we had 10-foot high corn.
Was
and
it peaches and cream corn or something?
I don't
It was
know.
very, very sweet.
But you remember that big garden he grew, and
Yes.
he was just out planting stuff for fun. And then I'm thinking, well, how sad we let those seeds get away. But that was really an interesting year in his garden.
The University of North Carolina, I think it is. They do that program. You can get seeds from there, and you can grow like 20-pound cantaloupes. And
now we had huge cabbages that year.
That's right. You can grow 20-pound head of cabbage.
That's the pictures that
watermelons can grow up to over 100 pounds and that kind of thing.
Right. That's just too much watermelon. I need like 2 50-pounders because I can't carry a 100-pounder.
Yeah, sometimes those large
melons,
watermelons, cantaloupe stuff, when you cut them open, they have a lot of hollow space, or they're not.
I'm like Maurice Ledbetter. I had he's the guy asked him could he eat a 50-pound watermelon. He said, "No, I'll be back in a few minutes." Come back. He said, "Yeah, I think I can." He's why? I said, "Well, I had one at the house. I had to find out first." Go ahead, call you live.
Hey, how them fellas used to keep them potatoes?
How do you keep your potatoes after you harvest them? Is that what you're asking?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. I like to use the hamper baskets. I put my potatoes in, and I have a building that's inside. It's a concrete floor, but I keep the potatoes in the baskets. And I use this black, they got to breathe. Whenever you dig them and they're drying out, they got to breathe. So I use this black,
Weed guard?
And
it's Weed Guard.
Yeah, Weed Guard. It's got holes in it, and they ventilate well on that. And then they don't turn green. Of course, you know if a potato turns green, you ain't supposed to eat it because it's poison.
I tell you what, all of my people out of Asheville, North Carolina, farm for a living.
Yeah.
And they had a tater hole.
Yeah.
They'd go out in the woodshed and they'd dig a big old hole and put hay down in there and keep them potatoes in there till the next year.
That's right. You can do that, and you can keep turnips that way. You can cut your turnips and put them in a cellar and with on straw and stuff. You can keep those. They'd be just as good now as it was when you took them out of the garden.
Now, the mice won't eat those?
Huh?
The mice won't eat the potatoes down in a hole like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to. You keep the mice out, Ron.
Well, okay. Dean, do you have a different way you keep yours? Or?
We limed ours.
Yeah, we used to lime ours in the barn in the feed room. We had a wooden floor, and we'd pour them out. But then the gopher rats and stuff ate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'd eat them out there all year, and then what was left, they'd sow them the next year for seed. And Debbie,
that'll work.
Yes.
You know where I'm talking about.
Where?
Okay, you go to Newport, go into Hot Springs, go across the mountain. You know where the old mill wheel is at the bottom of the mountain?
No, I don't. What city am I in?
North Carolina.
Going towards Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay, Asheville. Okay.
All right. You been to Hot Springs?
No.
I thought I heard you say one day on there you been to Hot Springs.
I went to Hot Springs, Georgia.
Arkansas, too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrong.
I thought, am I having a memory lapse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But main reason I called plum grannies.
Yep.
I used to raise them when I was a kid and put them up in the window for my mom, and they smell real good.
They smell wonderful.
I've looked for years for them seeds and can't find any.
Is that the same thing as a pomegranate?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
No, these are in the Millen family. I seen them in the seed catalog the other day, but they had another name, Granny's something. Yeah. And but they're good to eat.
Plum grannies are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
all I ever did was sniff them.
I sniffed them and eat them too.
Because you could always tell that time of year you'd walk in old people's house and it smelled like a plum granny.
You guys know where any pawpaw trees are?
No, I don't.
Nope.
I mean, did you have your?
Oh, years ago, yeah.
But
But
there's
I'm thinking it was a blight or something. He
Lamar Orr, the last person who we were down at the Rebel one day eating breakfast.
He pulled one out of his pocket
and handed me one. And I said, I didn't even know what it was. I never seen a pawpaw. I just knew you put them in picking up pawpaws, putting them in the basket.
Yeah. Hey, if anybody knows where to get some of them seeds, have them call in.
Okay, sounds good.
Sure will.
And we'll ask if we forget, you call in and ask the master gardeners next week at 9:00.
All right.
Thank you.
What about rhubarb? You ever tried to grow that? I understand they're hard to grow in this area.
Yeah, it's another one of those takes a couple of years to harvest.
Yeah,
right. And it doesn't like a little bit. You have to have a little bit, not as hot as temperature and a little cooler. I mean, it likes that 70 to 30 range.
Yeah,
average.
It does the best at that temperature. My dad, now I've never grown any, but my dad used to grow it. He used to grow the peach and several kinds, And my mom would cook it and put raisins and stuff in it, and it was good.
I've never had a rhubarb.
It's really good.
Not that I know
rhubarb
of.
pie.
I had rhubarb pie.
Rhubarb pie was really good.
Can't
she
say
put
that
raisins in with it.
I can't say that I have. I deep fat fried a lot of things, but that most everything deep fat fried is pretty good.
It makes it better.
Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Ron,
Yeah.
I didn't hear those guys say anything about planting beans, green beans.
Well, we said a little bit about how they preserved them and that we plant.
I can.
Go ahead and tell us.
I can can my green beans.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to buy some this year if somebody had some.
Okay. I think the farmer's market's the best place to check.
Yeah.
And if you get there early, you get the fresh stuff first.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as soon as, if someone will let us know when the farmer's market's open, we'll let everybody know.
And then the up in Delano at the Mennonite farm up there, they have some. They usually have unbelievable crops of everything.
What month would we be looking for the first fresh beans, guys?
July. I guess.
July.
about mid-July.
Mid-July.
Yeah. Yeah. All they've told this morning, I know how to do all of that.
Good for you.
Yeah, but I'm not able to do it now.
No.
And
Yeah.
I don't have no place to make a garden. But
Right.
yeah, everything they've told about making a hole and putting turnips and potatoes in it and everything, yeah, I've done all that with my dad.
Yep.
Yep.
Me too. Been there, done that.
But I'm glad you're feeling better.
I'm doing good. I still got a few hurdles to jump over, but
Yeah.
I've made it over this big one.
Well, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you for calling, sweetie.
But let me tell you what
Go ahead.
I did.
What'd you do?
I had a little spot on my forehead, right up at my hairline. Okay, I kept putting Neosporin on it. It wasn't getting better. So I went to the dermatologist, and he sent off a biopsy. Came back, it was cancer. So they went down in there, and the needle, when she put the shot in there to deaden it, it looked like it was a foot long.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those things recently too.
And when she started doing that, I hollered. Oh, it hurt so bad. So anyway, they went so deep in me, they put stitches inside and on the outside too.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back Wednesday, and I said, well, Victor, how long is my head going to be numb? he said the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So my feeling will never come back in. But I'm going to have a little small scar, but I had 25 stitches outside.
Well, at least you got it before it went somewhere else.
Now, let me tell you, next time you go to the doctor, you know what to do, don't you?
No, what?
You go get that Jack Daniels and drink you a couple drinks of that, and you won't give a darn what they do. Then take another couple more drinks when you get home, and you won't remember what they did.
Ronnie, you're so mean, you stink.
And I love it. Hey, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not real sure about how you do all that canning and stuff, but I can open any jar they make, though.
Yeah, but you know what?
What's that?
You mentioned the Jack Daniels to me, but you never bring me none.
That's right.
Well, I thought you said your neighbor had some.
Well, they do, but they don't want to divide with
They don't share.
All right.
Thank you, sweetie.
Well, we know what you're getting for your birthday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Gosh, guys, this 2 hours has just flown by. Gene, is there anything? And I know when you get home, you're going to think of all kinds of things that you meant to say.
Of course.
But anything?
Yeah.
And I have to ask you, y'all plan on coming back again sometime? I've really enjoyed this show. Gene, anything you'd like to add here towards the end?
No.
Nope.
Just,
and we
except grow gardens instead of lawns.
There you go.
You know,
it's easier to take care of, isn't it?
And we want to say our best wishes go out to Peggy, and hope for a speedy recovery with her also. We understand all what you're going through, and hope she's listening, and tell her that we are thinking about her.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Kenny, got anything you want to say?
Yeah, I just, that's the reason I put a lot of stuff on Facebook and stuff, try to encourage
just
more people.
You just showing off. You're just showing off.
I say, run, come here and look at this.
Hey, go ahead, call your live.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is Jed the Third. I need you to play a song for me today, maybe.
What
do you
want to hear?
Us what do you want to hear?
I need to do Jim Reeves' "Put Your Sweet Lips Closer to the Phone."
Okay.
Reeves. Okay, we got it. Thank you.
It's going to my little love, Jennifer.
Okay.
We'll we
we'll
got
see
a couple of commercials we play, then we got to play Swinging, and then we'll if I can find it, it'll be on since Swinging goes off. How's that?
That'll.
All righty, thank you.
Okay.
It's in our contract. We have to play just a Swinging every
Thank you,
week.
sir.
Bye-bye.
We'll try to get it.
Bye.
Okay, buddy.
Bye.
Going back to Kenneth here.
Yeah, I like to put stuff on the internet. It does encourage people to grow more garden, because I get a lot of calls and people want me to help them.
Well, I think that's it too, is that you guys put your gardening stuff on there, and then when someone has a question about a weed killer, or how do I grow this, or what do I do with this now that I've grown it, there's somebody there to get you started.
Well, now, I got one final question for you, Kenneth.
Oh, no.
I heard this morning you saw Doyle Palmer walking a stick.
Yeah,
is it too poor to have a dog?
Mr. Doyle, I passed him and on him doing his morning walk, and he had a stick with a fork on it under his arm, and he was dragging it down the road. And I said, "Yeah, what are you doing collecting sticks this morning, Doyle? You helping the neighbor out with her trash?" And he said, "No," said, "I got to take this and use it for a bean pole."
There we go.
So,
well,
he said, "I've got several of them collected on my round."
If any of you feel sorry for Doyle, buy him a dog.
Because he's walking a stick.
His stick here.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.
We want to say, don't forget, next Friday night, Cleveland Speedway will be running again. You ought to go down there. If you haven't seen the new facility, I mean, they have all new bleachers. They fixed up the track. They have painted. The bathrooms are clean.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't know. The only thing I ate last year down there was a bologna sandwich.
Bodacious bologna sandwich they
and
have.
it was good. But I tell you what, those hamburgers they cook smell delicious. And you folks have a great, safe week, and we'll see you here next week on Old Town Cleveland.
And I want to always say, you've got to write down your history. If you haven't written down what your mom and dad and your grandpas told you about gardening or about growing up and who your aunts and uncles were, if you haven't interviewed them, everybody's got something they record on. Your cell phone record things now. Yeah. Write it down. Get the pictures out. Make sure you got your grandmother and your dads and your moms to go through all the pictures and get a little white label and write down who's in those pictures. Because when they're gone, history dies with them.
Everybody looks the same.
And We always say you'll always remember about Pearl Harbor, but
will you remember Aunt Pearl? See you guys next week.
We'll
Bye-bye.
see you. Bye-bye, y'all.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it on north of here in a shopping mall.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.